Welcome back to Stocklabs, another market recap. Coming into the last week of October, and it was kind of soft this week overall. Sort of suggested that in the last recap, the Qs were going to outperform versus the rest of the market, IWM type stuff, which the Qs stayed flat for the week, and that's outperforming versus 3% down on the Russell. Dow was also down 2.65%. S&P shed 1%. So, overall weakness, but, the Qs hung in there. Gold was up again, and crude oil bounced 4%, so not too bad there. Bonds also slid again. Probably you're going to see portfolio managers cutting bond exposure just in general through the end of the year, just because it's been a poor performer for this year. Stocks have done much better. So nobody wants to show like an outsized bond position, really. If we look at the leadership stocks, most of them kind of didn't do much. Tesla was up big, 22% for the week. I think kind of most of this, well, not I think, but most of this came on earnings. It's up 8% now for the year, which is still trailing the rest of all these stocks. But, sometimes, you just get some momentum and, maybe it'll catch up all at once to at least some of these ones up 13, 15, 18%. So, NVIDIA also up 2.5%, basically hanging out near all-time highs. It's been sort of the story stock for the last couple of years. Microsoft bouncing back up 2.5%. And the rest, or Google was up 1%, but then the rest were down slightly. So Apple down 1.5%, Amazon flat down 0.5%, Meta flat down 0.5%-ish. And as a collective, up 3.5%. So this is what kept the NASDAQ flat for the week. Really wasn't much else other than that. If we look at the breadth by industries, pretty red across the board. Worst performer were industrials, down 3%. Healthcare also down 2.75%. Consumer down 3%. Services down almost 3%. Tech down 2%. Utilities down 2%. What is this? Financials down 1.8%, and basic materials down 1.2%. Basic materials red, even though gold and crude were up decent for the week. So the stocks did not participate with the commodity itself. Subsector wise, on the upside, we don't really have a whole lot. There's a couple semiconductor groups in here that are flattish to up, but for the most part, things were down. So we've got the worst performers, some bio stuff, RVs, residential, some, I'm not seeing too much of a pattern. Okay, I see another home improvement type thing, REITs. But you had a lot of the market down, but not sort of capitulation down. It was mostly just general weakness is what I would call it. And if we look at the breadth by market cap, we've got 1 to 5 billion cap companies down 2.25%. That was slightly better than the Russell. 5 to 10 billion down 1.9%. 10 to 50 billion also down 1.9%. 50 to 100 billion 1.9% again, and TerraCaps down 1.7%. So again, general weakness across the board, and also pretty uniform weakness across the cap range. So there wasn't like, even though the NASDAQ was flat and the Russell was down 3%, stocks in general were down around 1.8 to 2.25%. So, you could almost say that breadth was a little bit stronger than what the Russell would suggest. I mean, Russell's 2,000 stocks, but there's not a whole lot to draw conclusions from. If we look at intelligence for the coming week, biotech bullish, coin is bullish. This is a leveraged coin ETF, Coinbase that is, and we've got tech bullish, utilities bullish, industrials bullish, healthcare something, and crude oil, or this is short crude is bullish, so maybe crude will pull back this coming week. The downside, we've got short MSTR is bearish, so bullish. MicroStrategy again. Natty gas bearish. I think natural gas bounced this past week, but it's been in a pretty severe downtrend for the several weeks before that. So Stocklabs kind of looking for the downtrend part of that to resume. Short Russell is bearish, so bullish Russell. NVIDIA bear ETF is bearish, so bullish NVIDIA. EM bear is bearish, so bullish EM. Inverse Bitcoin is bearish, bullish Bitcoin. And ultra short Russell again, bearish, so bullish the Russell. Yeah, for me, I think the market is kind of in a little bit of a churn mode, at least until the election. I think the election is how far away is it? Less than 2 weeks, I think. November 5th or 7th, or what is the date? I don't know. So most likely, I think you're going to see some weakness early in the week again, just sort of continuing some of last week's action. But then probably you'll see somewhat of a bounce come in. I mean, yeah, market is still kind of near all-time highs, so it's not that much of a concern. We're kind of splitting hairs here, but yeah, general weakness kind of, I would assume, is going to persist early in the week. Probably it's buyable ahead of the election, and I'm fairly certain that regardless of the outcome of the election, you're going to see a big run into the end of the year for stocks, especially stocks that have already worked so far this year. So all the winners are going to extend into the end of the year, is what I'm be betting on. Yeah, so that's all from me. Hope you guys have a good week out there. And yeah, be back next week. See how things went. Bye.